folks, and welcome to part 3 of our assembly videos on assembling the pie crawler. So in the last video, we finished the last video by trying to issue this command.
Which is just changed to this directory before you begin the installation of the SUNFOUNDER software.
But it said that there was no such directory.
No, there is a home directory, but the only thing off the home directory is my name, Paul, because I've installed the Raspberry Pi operating system. There is no /pi directory off the home directory yet.
So on reflecting, you think that perhaps this has just given us an example and that people would use their own home directory.
Their own username directory off the home directory. I think so, but I'm not sure. I mean, what I did do initially, I actually created the Pi directory off the home directory, and you can see that here on the screen. This is the home directory. That's my username and my directory. So I created the Pi directory. But I'm not sure if I should install the SUNFOUNDER software here, or if I should install it here under my username.
So you're thinking that maybe you should install it there under your username, so you're going to try that first.
Well, I'm just going to open out my username and so you can see this directory structure. So I think under my username I might create another directory called Pi.
Yes.
This one is currently under home, but I'll create another directory called Pi under my username. We'll be installing the SUNFOUNDER software on the CD home my username /pi directory Pi. So we've got, these are the directories under Paul at the moment, and we're creating one called Pi, hopefully with this command. And let's check it, dir, and there's Pi now as well.
Oh, see? Fantastic.
So where we are in terms of this sort of idea, we are in the home directory, off Paul, then off Pi. That's where we are, and that's where we're going to run the next command.
Right.
So that this will install that the following software into home /Paul /Pi. So there should be nothing in here. If I run the dir command, there should be nothing in Pi at the moment, and there isn't. Right. So we will now run this command then, yeah?
Okay.
So it's git clone. So git clone is the command, yeah, and this is the address of the repository because it goes online to do it. github.com /SUNFOUNDER /robot hat.git. Also, we hit return. Fatal could not create worktree dir robot hat permission. Okay, so it may be because we've not issued the sudo command. Right, it's because and it is doing it. So it says it's done.
So now that that's worked, you can issue the next command.
So yeah, it's cloned this directory structure and the software it needs. So the next command is to cd change directory to robot hat. Now presumably that's been created by the previous instruction.
Right.
cd robot hat. And it does exist. So we've moved into the robot hat directory, and we are now going to issue this command, which is sudo python3 setup.py install. Then it says running setup.py. So that's a Python script, it's a Python program.
Right.
We'll download some necessary components. Okay, let's do that then. So, sudo. So I see they are using sudo now in the next line.
Yeah, it's like they've just failed to put that in earlier on.
Yeah, it's like they've done the instructions afterwards, and they're not accurate. So sudo python3 setup.py. So this is a Python script. That's what we're running. Setup.py, yeah. So sudo python3 setup.py install return. So it's right.
Oh, fantastic! So this is for downloading a library. installing a library.
This is the video library for the camera. We're in the correct place in our directory structure, so I'm going to issue the command now. Git clone, git clone https://github.com/sunfounder/vlib.git. So let's issue that command. Okay, we forgot the sudo. sudo space. Try again. And it's done it. So it's cloned that SUNFOUNDER vlib library. So now we can cd vlib b, because it should have created this directory as part of the command. And it has done. So we are now in vlib. We're now going to type the command
sudo python 3 install.py.
py. So it's going to run that Python script from this particular subdirectory.
It's stolen an awful lot of software here, Paul. So it's finally finished.
Installing the vlib software, yeah. So the next thing to do is to install the PyCrawler module. So we're currently in vlib, so we've got to go back up the directory structure one step. So that's cd ... And it tells us we're now back in the Py directory. So we can now we're at the correct place in the directory structure, we can now issue the next command to download and install the PyCrawler module. So this is the full command that's going to execute when we hit return. We probably need sudo on it. Yeah, keep on forgetting that. Home, sudo, and hib. You can see I've made a mistake. It should be github. ub, delete, and return.
It's doing it.
Yeah. So this is the PyCrawler module that it's now installing.
So it's done that then.
Finally, you need to run the script i2samp.sh. So that'll be the script that sets up the I2C interface for the audio, I think, to install the components required by the I2S's amplifier. Otherwise, the pislot will have no sound. That should be PyCrawler, shouldn't it? You should be in the PyCrawler directory. So let's change to PyCrawler. So we're currently in Py. So it's cd PyCrawler. So we're now in PyCrawler. So we can type sudo bash i2samp.sh. Sudo bash i2samp.sh. Okay, let's run that. Support for your operating system is experimental. Please visit blah 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 if you're experiencing issues with this product. This script will install everything you need to use I2S's amplifier. Warning, always be careful when running scripts and commands, blah, blah, blah. Do you wish to continue? So we do wish to continue. I activate dev 0, playback in the background, recommended, so we type yes to that. Would you like to reboot now? Type yes and press enter to restart the machine. So it's now rebooting the Raspberry Pi. There we go, listen. There was something there, wasn't there? There was definitely a sound coming out of the speaker. So it's enabled the I2C and the camera interface. So we might be able to do this graphically. And then Raspberry Pi configuration. Interfaces are enabled and what interfaces are not enabled. So it's showing that the camera isn't currently enabled, and that the I2C interface is enabled. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to drop out of this graphical interface and go back to the command line. I mean, I could do it from here, but what I want to do is go back to the command line, enable the camera from the command line, then come back to the...
And then see if it shows up on the graphical.
Yeah. Just because I'm curious of doing it this way around, okay. Sudo Raspberry Pi configuration. So this is the command line equivalent of what we've just done graphically.
Right.
sudo raspi config. Choose interfacing options. So we can use the up and down arrows. Interface option. Interface options, configure connections to peripherals. So we hit return. Enable or disable the connection to the Raspberry Pi camera. Use the arrow keys on the keyboard to select yes or OK to complete the setup of the I2C. So we know that one's already enabled because we've seen it. So we'll go do the camera. Let's just hit return. Would you like the camera interface to be enabled? So we highlight yes and press return. The camera interface is enabled. Okay, we'll click finish. Finish. Yes, we'd like to reboot. Raspberry Pi. Preferences. Raspberry Pi configuration. Interfaces. And we can see the camera has been enabled.
Right.
So we could have done that from the graphical interface, but we did it from the command line. I'm also going to enable the VNC at this point, yeah? Because I know we will want that enabled later on. So click OK. We've rebooted the Raspberry Pi and we've waited for 1 to 2 minutes, less than that. And it says there will be a sound to indicate the Raspberry Pi boots successfully. Now, we've not heard a system sound as such coming out of the speaker.
Just white noise.
Just a sort of white noise of an amplifier turning on and off. So we'll go on to the next step. So it says now run servo-zeroing.py in the examples folder. We can do this graphically now. So let's open the folders. Let's go to Pi, that's the one we created. And go to PyCrawler and go to examples. So as you can see here, we are now in the examples folder. And there is a folder, there is a Python file there called servo-zeroing.py. So that is the file we're going to run, the Python file we're going to run, and we'll double click on it and see what happens. Okay, looks like a little script. Yes, it is. It's a little Python script. So when we run this script, we've got to plug the servo in to that particular port. So we've got to find it on the board.
Port 11.
You can actually see little logos down the side. They run from 0 to 11. I don't know if you could see those. Pulse width modulated output band. It goes. The bottom one is P11.
Yeah.
And it goes black, red, yellow. That would be the equivalent to brown, red, orange. Because brown and red, or black and red, are the power to the servo, and the orange or the yellow is the signal. So we'll plug that in there. We wouldn't expect the servo to move at this point because there should be no signal going there, but okay. So it's plugged in. The servo has not done anything because the program's not running. So I'm going to click on run.
Yes.
It's very unlikely that this servo is in the 0 position, so we're going to click on run now.
Yay.
And it changed it, yeah. So now that servo is in the 0 position, and it could be fixed to the Raspberry Pi leg. So I'm just going to stop.
The PyCrawler leg.
Raspberry Pi crawler leg, yeah.
So finally, all the software is installed. That was epic.
It was. It could have been made easier if the instructions for the Pi crawler didn't have the odd mistake in, didn't have the odd typo in. There's a little bit of guidance missing or some omissions. For instance, they didn't put sudo in front of some of the commands that had to be executed. I mean, it's only a minor thing, but if you were relatively non-technical and you hadn't had experience, you might be left in the dark. The online PDF manual could be much better, really. It would make it easier and speed things up, but it's not too bad.
So in the next video, we can go back to assembling the PyCrawler. So I hope you'll join us in part 4 when perhaps we might actually complete the assembly, do you think, Paul?
Yeah.
Big fingers crossed. We'll complete it in the next video. But that's it for this video, folks. Thanks for watching as always, and I hope you'll join us in part 4.